Hi, I've been watching all these videos of people setting up chin mounts on their helmets, and I wanted to do the same thing on my Ikon Variant, but the shape of the nose on the chin on the Ikon Variant is quite curved, and also you've got this vent switch on the front here. So to stick a GoPro mount like this on the front is quite tricky because obviously it's very curved. So to get the sticky tape to bind to the helmet, it's only going to contact in a couple of places. So I wanted to make a mount that I've seen online a few times where you use putty to shape the mount to the same as the shape of the helmet. But if I do that on the Ikon, then it's going to cover up this vent and I'll have no more use of it. So I wanted to show you guys how I made the GoPro mount for the Ikon Variant and still be able to adjust the vent. So let's give it a try. You're going to need a GoPro mount. I have a curved one here. Curved is better if you have it because it means you need less epoxy to fill in the gaps on the front of the Ikon. If you have a flat one, no problem, you just need a little bit more epoxy. Secondly, I've got a little bit of sandpaper here because once first of all we have to remove the tape from the back of the mount, and then I want to scratch up the plastic on the back of the mount so that the epoxy will stick to it. So a little bit of sandpaper for that. Then I've got the epoxy. This is an epoxy putty. You can get it quite cheap from most DIY stores. And that's going to be used to fill up the gaps between the mount and the helmet itself. And then to stick the mount once it's made back to the helmet, I need some more mounting tape. So I've got some mounting tape here. Other tools you're going to need, we will need some sort of heating device, either a hairdryer or a hot gun, to heat up the tape that's already stuck to this mount so we can peel it off. If you try and peel it off without heating it up, it's an absolute nightmare. You'll have bits of residue stuck to the plastic. It's horrible. So if you can heat it up just gently, not a lot, with a hairdryer or a heat gun, it'll peel off in one piece, super easy. The other tool is a small drill, because we're going to be able to get to the vent switch on the helmet. We're going to drill through the mount here in the center to allow us to switch the switch with our thumb. And that's about it. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. So I've stolen my wife's hairdryer. I don't have any hair, so I don't need a hairdryer. And I'm just going to heat up the mount just for a couple of minutes. It really doesn't have to be very hot, just warm, to soften up the mounting tape and allow it to come off easily. So let's do that. So as you can see, I've taken the tape off and it's very smooth. There's no residue at all from the mounting tape. And so what we're going to do now is just give it a little bit of a sandpaper, just to put a bit of a key on the surface here to allow the epoxy to stick better. So we just take our sandpaper here, okay, and just give it a little rough up. You can see already, you can see it's getting dull. So I'm just going to rough that up until we've got a nice key over the whole surface. So what I've done, I've measured the switch on the helmet, and it's 20 to 21 millimeters in length and 5 millimeters wide. That's with a little bit of a gap to allow you to get in there and use the switch without it rubbing against the mount. So I've marked that on the back of the GoPro mount here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut it out or drill it out with my little drill, and then we're going to put it on there and see how it is before we go ahead with the epoxy. So let's give that a drill out and see how it fits. Okay, so as you can see, I've cut a hole out of the GoPro mount to allow use of the switch. We'll just give it a quick look on here. Okay, and you can see how it fits, and now it's got it in frame there. You can't really see. It's much closer to the helmet now already, so that's going to mean we're going to need less putty to get it to fit properly. And just to check the switch actually works, so if this was in place, stuck there, yeah, so I can use the switch, so that's going to be perfect. And that's exactly where I want it mounted, on the front of the helmet. Perfect. Okay, so the next step is to stick the epoxy on. Okay, so now we're going to mask off the front of the helmet so that the epoxy doesn't affect it. So I'm just going to tape it up as close to the switch as possible to start with. Okay, trying to take the form of the helmet completely. Okay, it's quite tricky to do in front of the camera, so I'm going to go away and mask this off properly, and I'll show you when it's finished. So I've masked off the front of the helmet with the switch there. So now when I take the GoPro mount that we have here, I'm going to put the epoxy on the back, and then we're just going to squeeze it on over the position that we want it, over the switch. Not to worry about the epoxy coming through the hole in the GoPro mount, because what we'll do afterwards is, once it's set, is we'll re-drill out this little hole here to allow us to get to the switch. So we're just going to press it on. It doesn't need to stay on there, because once it's formed the shape, the putty will stay like that, it's not going to move. So I'm just going to squeeze it on, get the shape of the helmet, and then, well, I could leave it there, or I can just take it off and let it set. So let's give that a go. As you can see, I've stepped ahead a little bit here. I put the putty on the back of the GoPro mount, and then I've squeezed it on and formed it to the shape of the helmet. I did that off camera because it was a nightmare to try to do it in front of the camera, but it's pretty straightforward. Just squish it on and then mold the putty behind the GoPro mount until it sits perfectly around the helmet. I've gone over the edge quite a bit, so that when I pull it off, I can sand it back to shape, and it will look much more professional than just fingerprints of putty on the mount. So what I've done is made sure that it's centered. Okay, so I'm checking that it's in the center, that it's lined up correctly. So when I put my GoPro on, it's not pointing to the left or the right. I mean, you can adjust that obviously with your mounts, but we try to get it as straight as possible. You can see the switch in the center there. So once this is all set, I will pull it off, take the tape off, and then I'm going to be sanding it to shape before I put the mounting tape on the back. So we'll wait for that to set, and we'll come back and see how it's worked. So we've left it to set, and it's nice and hard now. So now I'm going to peel it off the helmet and see what it looks like on the other side. Okay, so you can see it's looks okay. Taking a bit of the pattern of the tape, but let's see how it is on the helmet. Perfect fit. So we've sanded down the putty, give it a nice clean finish all the way around. Don't like the colour, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it black so it matches the mount, and then we can stick the tape to the back here and fit it to the helmet. Let's see how it fits here now. Okay. I mean, the fitting is almost good enough that it stays there by itself. We've painted it now with the black paint. It makes it look like a proper GoPro mount instead of some DIY job. So now I'm just going to rough up again the back here, and then we'll put the tape on, ready to mount. Okay, we've put the mounting tape on, so let's finish it off and stick it on the helmet and see how it looks. Okay, take off the plastic. Okay. Okay, perfect fit. No gaps, touching all the front of the helmet, so I get a really good seal with the plastic. It seems pretty solid as it is. Only thing now to do is to test it with the camera. Okay, so there's the GoPro chin mount for your Ikon Variant helmet, with the ability still to use the vent switch in the center there. As you can see, the hole in the center there still allows me to just get my finger in and switch the switch up and down to allow the vent to open. So now we're going to mount the GoPro camera and see how it goes on the motorbike. Thanks for watching.